Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving deep into one of history's most infamous figures, Judas Iscariot. For 2,000 years, his name has been synonymous with betrayal, the man who sold Jesus for 30 pieces of silver. But what if I told you that's not the whole story? What if Judas wasn't a traitor, but instead, Jesus' most loyal and enlightened disciple? It's a radical idea, I know, but it's one supported by ancient texts that were hidden for centuries. So, buckle up as we challenge everything you thought you knew about the ultimate villain of the New Testament. Let's start with the story we all know. The four canonical Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, paint a clear picture. Judas, one of the 12 apostles, approaches the chief priests and agrees to hand Jesus over in exchange for money. He leads them to the Garden of Gethsemane and identifies Jesus with a kiss. It's a straightforward tale of greed and betrayal that has shaped Western culture for millennia. Judas is the archetype of the backstabber, the friend whose loyalty can be bought. But this version of the story is not the only one that was told in the early days of Christianity. In 1978, a discovery was made in the deserts of Egypt that would rock the world of theology. A leather-bound papyrus codex was found, and after decades of being passed through the black market and suffering from poor storage, it was finally translated. This ancient text was the long-lost Gospel of Judas. Dated to the 2nd century AD, it offers a completely different perspective on the relationship between Jesus and Judas. This isn't just a minor tweak to the story. It's a complete inversion of Judas's role. According to this Gnostic Gospel, Judas wasn't the villain. He was the hero. He was Jesus's most beloved and trusted disciple, the only one who truly understood his master's divine origin and mission. The text describes private conversations between Jesus and Judas, where Jesus shares profound cosmic secrets that he keeps hidden from the other apostles. He tells Judas, "You will exceed all of them, for you will sacrifice the man that clothes me." Let's unpack that line. You will sacrifice the man that clothes me. This is the core of the Gnostic reinterpretation. Gnostics believed that the material world, including our physical bodies, was a flawed creation, a prison for the divine spark within us. In this view, Jesus' physical body was a temporary vessel, a man that clothes his true, divine spirit. His mission wasn't just to die, but to escape the prison of flesh and return to the higher spiritual realm he came from. The other disciples, according to the Gospel of Judas, just didn't get it. Jesus often scolds them for their lack of understanding. They were still attached to the material world and its creator, a lesser, flawed deity, the Gnostics called the Demiurge. They prayed to this false god, thinking it was the ultimate father. But Judas was different. He saw beyond the veil. The Gospel states that Judas recognized Jesus came from the immortal realm of Barbello, a high divine emanation, and not from the corrupt material world. Because Judas possessed this higher knowledge, or gnosis, Jesus chose him for the most difficult and crucial task of all. He didn't betray Jesus. He obeyed him. He was tasked with initiating the process that would lead to the crucifixion, thereby liberating Jesus' spirit from its physical shell. It was an act of supreme loyalty and understanding, not of greed or malice. Judas was the only one strong enough and enlightened enough to carry out this sacred duty, even though he knew it would mean being cursed and misunderstood for all of eternity. So, why was Judas the one to receive this secret knowledge? Gnosticism teaches that salvation comes not from faith or good works alone, but from gnosis, direct, experiential knowledge of the divine. Judas, in this tradition, embodies the ideal Gnostic. He wasn't just a follower. He was a spiritual insider who comprehended the deep mysteries of existence that the others couldn't grasp. His betrayal is reframed as a profound act of spiritual service. He wasn't selling his friend out. He was helping his master achieve transcendence. The 30 pieces of silver, from this perspective, could be seen as symbolic or simply a detail necessary to set the wheels of the plan in motion within the material world. This Gnostic portrayal directly challenges the orthodox narrative that became the foundation of mainstream Christianity. Where the canonical Gospels see sin and betrayal, the Gospel of Judas sees sacrifice and enlightenment. It suggests that Judas wasn't motivated by evil, but by a deep esoteric understanding and a painful obedience to a divine plan. He willingly accepts the role of the villain in the earthly drama to ensure the success of the cosmic mission. He bears the weight of eternal infamy for the sake of liberating his master. Now, it's crucial to understand that the Gospel of Judas was never part of the official biblical canon. Early church fathers like Irenaeus of Lyons condemned it as heresy in the 2nd century. They were working to establish a single, orthodox version of Christianity, and texts that presented radically different theologies, like Gnosticism, were suppressed. The Gnostic Gospels were seen as a threat to the authority and structure of the burgeoning church. For them, Judas had to be the villain. His betrayal served as a powerful moral lesson about sin, repentance, and the consequences of turning away from God. A heroic Judas simply didn't fit the narrative they were building. So, what does this all mean for us today? Does the Gospel of Judas prove that the traditional story is wrong? Not necessarily, but it does prove that early Christianity was far more diverse and complex than we often imagine. There wasn't just one single belief system from the start. There were multiple competing interpretations of Jesus' life and teachings. The story of Judas is a perfect example of how history is written by the victors. The Orthodox view won out, and the Gnostic view was buried, literally, in the sands of Egypt. The rediscovery of the Gospel of Judas invites us to look at this ancient story with fresh eyes. It encourages us to question the simple black and white narratives we've been handed down. Was Judas a greedy traitor, or was he a spiritually enlightened disciple, performing a painful but necessary act of love and obedience? The answer might depend on which ancient text you choose to read. This reinterpretation transforms Judas from a one-dimensional villain into a tragic, complex, and deeply misunderstood figure. He becomes the ultimate keeper of secrets, the disciple whose love and understanding were so profound that he was willing to sacrifice his own name and reputation to fulfill his master's true purpose. It's a powerful and thought-provoking alternative that challenges us to think differently about loyalty, sacrifice, and the nature of truth itself. Far from being the enemy of Christ, Judas might just have been his most essential partner. What do you think? Is this a complete rewrite of history, or does it offer a plausible alternative to the traditional story? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear your perspective on this fascinating and controversial topic. Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive into one of history's greatest mysteries. If you enjoyed this video and want to explore more hidden histories and challenging ideas, please make sure to hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel and ring the notification bell so you never miss an update. It really helps the channel grow, and I appreciate your support more than you know. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.